find a way of ramping this up even beyond the end of the lockdown. And I don't know when the lockdown will end. Some people are saying the 16th of April. But when we announced it, I didn't say what year it will end.
Yeah, and that sounds like the plan, folks. Going to release the lockdowns on April 16th, but we didn't tell them what year. And they have a big chuckle about it. I don't know where that video comes from, whether it's legitimate or not. I mean, it looks like it could be. But it certainly does display the mindset of these people, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's true. We're just going to continue this, folks. They're pushing it again in Australia, saying, yes, new outbreaks coming. And they're saying in the United States as well, they're expecting new outbreaks. I mean, you know, this isn't going to go away, folks. Every time they lower things down a little bit and ease off a little bit, it's always because they're going to bring it back. Like I said to you before, it's like when you're fishing, big fish, you know, you've got to reel it in, then give it some play, then reel it in again, you know, let the fish wear itself out. That's what they're doing to the people. They're just loosening things and bringing it back and loosening it, but, you know, never loosening it back to where it was before they started. I never do that. They just want to keep continuing it so they can, just through gradualism, bring it more and more online, what they want to do. And that's what all this distraction is about in Ukraine and everywhere else. They're doing some Hollywood slap that happened with Will Smith and somebody else. I haven't even looked at it. I don't know what it was about. But, you know, everything they can to just distract you from what they're doing, folks. Because it's not going to go away. Been getting a lot of flack for daring to say that Putin isn't our friend, folks, and that all this is part of the play. Putin is a World Economic Forum stooge, and Putin's doing what he needs to do to crash the Western economy. People are saying, oh, there's gold-backed currencies coming in 13 countries and all this sort of shit. Doesn't make any difference, folks. Doesn't make any difference whether it's gold-backed or not. The fact is that you've got to pay to be alive. That's the problem, you know. Whether you're paying with gold-backed currency or with whatever currency, the fact is that you're using currency at all. That's the problem, folks. You're using their currency. You know, and Putin's just been playing his role right since the beginning. Just wait for the truck to go past. Putin's been playing his role right since the beginning. You know, they've got to crash the Western economy and bring about their great reset, but they've got to create a viable backstory so people will believe it. Through the whole concept of this pandemic and now this alleged war with Ukraine, you can see how they're going to do it, folks. But Putin isn't your friend. None of these governments are your friend. They've just got to do this in a way that is believable for the people. But it's all going to have the same effect. It doesn't matter which way they do it. It's all going to have the same effect. It's all leading towards the same thing. People are saying, oh no, we're going to head for a world of abundance. Well, we will after this world is completely demolished and falls down and collapses under its own weight. Then we might have some sort of a world of an abundance. And I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have some sort of a golden age at the end of all this, folks. But unfortunately, a lot of people will have to be cleared out for that to happen, which is what's going to happen with this jab. All these injections they've given to people. There's new whistleblowers coming out from Australia. I saw a great report from Maria Z the other day where she's talking about Australian scientists and doctors are now whistleblowing about the nanotech that's being found inside these injections, in the vials, in the bloodstream, graphene oxide that's being found in the bloodstream. All sorts of things are coming to light, folks.
They all have bright specks in each of these images. What they've told me, these researchers have told me, is that there are thousands of these in one single drop. Thousands of these in one single drop of blood. What is the implication of thousands of these structures being inside a drop of blood? And mind you, they're self-assembling, and I'm going to show you evidence of that. We have videos. These are the videos here. So this one that you're watching now, I'm going to play that again for you. You can see it almost has legs. I'll keep playing it and we'll talk about it. It almost has legs and it's moving and there's more attaching to it. There's more assembly happening as it moves. This first one, I'm going to play this video for you actually. So as you're watching here, watch it light up. Hang on, let me pause these. Watch it light up. Do you know why that's lighting up? That's lighting up when they used a mobile phone next to it. This is happening when they used a mobile phone next to it. I'm going to play that for you again. Oh, sorry, guys. It looks like I just have to keep looping them. Just watch that first one. It's already luminous. There's the mobile phone. So then they switched off the phone. In a moment, you'll see it go dim again. And then they switched it back on. This is happening inside human beings when they're using their phones after they've been injected. I'll just play this one again. You watch all these things lighting up, and what they've told me is that they'll continue to stay lit for days. That's not normal. Days. Watch this one. This is like, it's like a worm or a, I don't even know. It's moving, it's wiggling, it starts off straight and then it curves. Are they self-aware? Are they assembling due to mobile phone use? Are they, what's sparking this? Again, this is how it starts. And then you bring a mobile phone near it and it does this. And stops. And then the mobile phone makes it go crazy again. So it says that the objects both have both high and low complexity. They appear to have an engineered appearance. This is what the scientists are saying. They have a reflective or light absorption property. This may be due to rotation in the injection matrix, vaccine matrix between the glass sandwich, or it may be a physiochemical property of the objects, but there are literally, they've said here, please be aware that there are literally thousands of these objects in just one drop of vaccine. This is the visualization of the extent of these geometric objects in just one drop of an undiluted Pfizer vaccine after 72 hours standing.
And it's good to see reports like that being made by people. And again, you know, Putin isn't our friend. There was actually a great report that came out by James Corbett the other day on the Corbett Report. Good old James. He's one of the last real journalists we have, folks. James Corbett and John Rappaport, people like that, you know, some of the last actual journalists we have in the world. He did a great report where he was talking about some of Trudeau's plans, some of their COVID plans for 2022. And halfway through the report, he flipped it to being about Russia, because if you look at the Canadian plans, the COVID response plans for 2022, and you look at the Russian COVID response plans for 2022, it's virtually the same document.
We'll take a look at the document. Here it is on the Government of Canada website. It was issued on the 4th of February 2022, so just a couple of weeks while they were ramping up the Ukraine, something's going to happen in Ukraine talk. This flew under the radar of everyone that I've seen so far. They start talking about the tremendous changes, the momentous changes that are happening right now in all of the buzzwords. Oh, you know, we're going through multipolarity, economic globalization, the advent of the information society, cultural diversity, transformation of the global architecture and world order, increasing interrelation and interdependence between the states, redistribution of power in the world. At the same time, of course, as the pandemic of new coronavirus infections continues, The international regional security situation is complicating, and the number of global challenges and threats is growing from day to day. Universal human values such as peace, development, equality, justice, democracy, freedom, blah, 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 to protect the United Nations-driven international architecture and the international law-based world order, seek genuine multipolarity with the United Nations and its Security Council playing a central and coordinating role, promote more democratic international relations, and ensure peace, stability, and development, sustainable development across the world. Democracy is a means of citizens' participation in the government of their country with a view to improving the well-being of population and implementing the principle of popular government. Attempts at hegemony pose serious threats to global and regional peace and stability, and undermine the stability of the world order. And the ongoing pandemic of the new coronavirus infection poses a serious challenge to the fulfillment of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It is vital to enhance partnership relations for the sake of global development and make sure that the new stage of global development is defined by balance, harmony, and inclusiveness. Exactly what you would expect Trudeau to be saying to cover for the real agenda, which is, it's just so blatant. It's black and white here. The sides will strengthen cooperation with multilateral mechanisms, including the United Nations, surprise, surprise, and encourage the international community to prioritize development issues in the global macro policy coordination. So going on, talking about, supporting the Global Development Initiative under the UN auspices, of course, in order to accelerate the implementation of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The sides call on all the international community to take practical steps in key areas of cooperation, such as poverty reduction, food security, vaccines and epidemic control, financing for development, climate change, sustainable development, including green development, industrialization, digital economy, and infrastructure connectivity. Yeah. The sides have commended the work of the competent authorities and regions of the two countries on implementing quarantine measures in the border areas, and promote the idea of creating a single global anti-terrorism front with the United Nations playing a central role. A joint statement of the Russian Federation and the People's Republic of China on the international relations entering a new era and the global sustainable development. But it's word for word exactly what I was just reading to you there. I mean, they're exactly what I just said. The development of process and phenomena, multipolarity, economic globalization, information society, cultural diversity. As the pandemic of new coronavirus infection continues, international regional security situation is complicating, blah, blah, blah. Champion universal human values, protect the United Nations-driven international architecture and international law-based world order, seek genuine multipolarity with the United Nations and its Security Council playing a central and coordinating role, promote more democratic institutional relations, blah, blah, blah. The democracy is a means of enhancing citizens' participation in government. Guarantee their people the right to take part, blah, blah, blah. Such attempts at hegemony pose serious threats to the world order. The sides note that the Charter of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights sets out valuable goals. Oh, yeah, and we need to fulfill UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It is vital to enhance partnership relations for the sake of global development. Sustainable development, of course. Strengthen cooperation with multilateral mechanisms, including the United Nations. Yes, UN 2030 Agenda. Accelerate the implementation of the UN 2030 Agenda with some of those wonderful vaccines and epidemics control, financing for development, climate change, sustainable development. Pick your globalist buzzword, jointly celebrating the 30th anniversary of the adoption of the UNFCCC. And we commit ourselves to fighting for right alongside what the UNFCCC is saying, and anything they say is good enough. Fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, protection of life. Oh, good. Oh, let's commend the wonderful quarantines and epidemic controls that Russia and China have implemented to crack down on their nations. Oh, yeah, let's get the United Nations playing a central role in terrorism and peacekeeping. Oh, it's exactly, every single bit of it is exactly what I was just reading, but it's Russian. Vladimir Putin is a World Economic Forum stooge.
When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin.
Fact number 2, Vladimir Putin is a warmonger.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Кто бы ни пытался помешать нам, а тем более создать угрозы для нашей страны, для нашего народа, должны знать, что ответ России будет незамедлительным и приведет вас к таким последствиям, с которыми вы в своей истории еще никогда не сталкивались.
Fact number 3, Vladimir Putin is seeking to shut down all media dissent in his country and control the dissemination of information in Russia.
Putin signs fake news, internet insults bill into law. This coming from the Moscow Times. Putin has signed a controversial set of bills that make it a crime to disrespect the state and spread fake news online. The legislation will establish punishments for spreading information that, quote, exhibits blatant disrespect for the society, government, official government symbols, constitution, or governmental bodies of Russia, end quote.
Number 4, Putin was pushing all of the same COVID biosecurity tyranny nonsense during the scandemic as Canada and the US and basically every other country for the past 2 years.
Putin spoke with newly elected lawmakers and urged them to actively support efforts to get more people vaccinated. The Kremlin says that number of COVID-19 cases is rising due to an insufficient amount of people getting inoculated. Russia was the fastest country to develop and launch the Sputnik V vaccine last year. However, the vaccination drive has been slow as Russians do not entirely trust the authorities and fear new medical projects.
В сложных условиях работают медицинские работники. Спасти людей от инфицирования, от тяжелого течения болезни способна вакцинация. Мы с вами это хорошо знаем. Необходимо наращивать ее темп. Я прошу вас принять самое активное участие в этой работе.
Предъявите ваш QR-код для прохода в помещение. QR-код подтвержден. Предъявите ваш паспорт. Документ подтвержден. Приятного отдыха.
Fact number 5, Putin is pushing the AI-driven transhumanist Fourth Industrial Revolution nightmare.
AI-enabled solutions have indeed become part and parcel of our life. Today it's the point of gravity for talented, creative people ready to dream and achieve their goals.
And, of course, Putin also loves China and its dictatorship.
Китай первым столкнулся с этой угрозой, с пандемией коронавирусной инфекции и продемонстрировал затем всему миру, что можно успешно с этим бороться. Я хочу вас поздравить, уважаемые коллеги, уважаемый господин председатель, и всех наших китайских друзей с тем, как была выстроена работа по борьбе с пандемией. Результат действительно существенный, ясный, понятный. И хочу еще раз повторить, это хороший пример для других.
And James covered that in that report, and it was really good to see. And it shows you that they're all working together, folks. It's all part and parcel to the same thing, and it's all moving towards the same direction it always has been. Oh my God, you mean there's a world leader that isn't telling us the truth? Yes, folks. That's the way it is. They never tell us the truth. They certainly don't tell us the truth in Australia, and they're asking now for forgiveness. The Victorian police are saying they want to step it up and re-establish their relationship with the Victorian people. We know it's been kind of tough over the last 2 years, and we're sorry for beating the shit out of you and breaking the law at every opportunity and incarcerating you and just reveling in our duties of doing it and being the sociopathic psychopaths and brutal morons that we were. And now we want you to trust us again because really we're the good guys.
Victoria Police Command wants you to forget about what they've been up to for the past couple of years. You know, harassing old women on park benches, arresting pregnant women in their kitchens for Facebook posts, enforcing playground bans on children and their brutal response to anti-lockdown protests. Yes, please, forget all that and remember they are on our side. After 2 years of overreach and selective policing, the VicPol hierarchy want to rebuild their brand.
Police are promising more of this and this in a brand rebuilding exercise.
We're approachable, we're involved, we're working with them, and we're here to help.
They're also hoping to repair a brand damaged by 2 years of unpopular COVID policing.
We know we've had to perform duties and engage with people, and it might not have been what they would have expected in the first instance because of the COVID environment we're in.
No, Commissioner, you didn't have to do any of the insanely illiberal and often downright brutal enforcement that you and your members of your command enthusiastically embrace. You didn't have to allow the police force to become politicised. You didn't have to stand with bureaucrats banning children from playgrounds. You know, want to build trust with the Victorian public? I can't imagine why.
Yeah, right. I don't think that's going to work out real well. I think the Victorian police need to earn their trust. In fact, I don't think there will be any trust had for the Victorian police or any police in Australia for that matter after the treatment they've meted out to the people over the last 2 years. I don't think any trust will be restored until the entire police department is replaced by people of integrity. Most especially the police commissioner is that beady-eyed little moron in the black shirt from Victoria who looks like he's straight out of some form of dystopian Gestapo. I won't even say Nazi because it's not Nazi. And all this stuff that's going on in Ukraine, folks, it's not Nazis. This is Bolsheviks. Wonder how many Israelis are there. Wonder how many kids are being kidnapped by Israelis and used for child trafficking and organ harvesting and all the shit they do. This is Bolshevism, pure and simple, folks. Even the whole concept of the Nazis was promoted by Bolsheviks. World War II was being run by Bolsheviks. World War I was run by Bolsheviks. The whole Nazi thing was created by Bolsheviks, mainly in order to vilify the swastika, folks, because the swastika is an ancient symbol of prosperity, balance, harmony. Also seems to be the basis for free energy devices. I've showed you videos on that before. And so they really want us to hate that symbol. I think there's a lot of power in it. I think there's a lot of power in symbols. And when you consider the government lies to us about every single thing that they do, why do you think they're telling us the truth about the swastika either, folks? I mean, they want you to hate this symbol for a reason, you know. Well, what they're finding with these experiments they're doing in Australia, all these whistleblowers, what they're finding is that there's, like I said, nanotech inside the jabs, inside the vials. And there's these crystal structures, these crystalline structures which appear to be destroying people's white blood cells. Apparently the white blood cells attack these crystalline structures and then they basically get destroyed when they try to attack them. They're basically exploding from trying to attack these crystalline structures. So this is why people's immune systems are breaking down, because these white blood cells are being destroyed faster than they're being created. That's pretty freaky sort of stuff. This is why we're seeing this vaccine-induced AIDS in people, what they're calling it, VAIDS, vaccine-induced autoimmune deficiency disorder or whatever it is, syndrome.
Get that checked out. And it was a female doctor, and she said to me, you know, your bloods are due, because I haven't had bloods taken and checked for a year. And I said, yeah. I'll do that with my doctor. And she said, oh, well, I can do it for you now. And she said, we better check for AIDS as well. And I went, what? Why? And of course, I've heard all the stuff about AIDS. And I said, well, I've been with the same sexual partner for 35 years. Neither of us have cheated to my knowledge. And I said, and plus I haven't been jabbed. And she said, oh, well, if you haven't been jabbed, then there's no need to check for AIDS. And I went, oh my God, did you just say that? And she said, yeah. And I said, have you been jabbed? And she said, no way, Peter. She said, if you'd seen what I've seen, she said, there is no way you would ever touch that stuff. Anyway, there's 2 doctors still working because they got an extension, not an exemption, but an extension in the clinic that I go to that haven't been jabbed. But my doctor who has been jabbed has had a retina detachment, appendicitis, and something else to do with his bowel. And I said, oh, wouldn't be the jab, would it? And he said, I'm starting to think so. Oh, how funny. Anyway, I feel sorry for him, but, you know, he pushed it and pushed it and pushed on me, but how interesting. I mean, we've all heard the AIDS thing, but for a doctor to actually come out and say, we better check you for AIDS, and then say, I'm not jabbed, and she goes, oh, we don't need to check you then. How interesting is that?
Yeah, so that's what's going. The floods are still happening in Australia as well, folks. As I've said, they're going to keep this going for the next 3 months. They're saying April's going to be the wettest April on record, and they're just going to continue these floods. Notably, they didn't clean up after the last floods. Like, there were floods there a month ago, 3 weeks or a month ago. There were really bad floods in New South Wales, and they never cleaned up. The people came along and started cleaning up. All their belongings were washed out on the street and shit, so they started piling it up on the street, waiting for the government to send in cleanup teams, and the cleanup teams never came. And then 3 weeks to a month later, it floods again. And so all this stuff that's been stacked outside people's houses and all the work they've done on their houses to try to get things good again, it's all just washed away again. So the devastation is twice as bad this time as what it was in the last time. And of course, they never cleaned up because they planned on flooding it further. Because all of this is done through weather control, folks. I mean, they tell us they can cloud seed. They've been telling us this stuff since the frickin' 80s. I don't know how they can go on TV and tell people that they do cloud seeding, they can control the weather, they can bring rain, they can bring drought, they can do all sorts of stuff, and yet when it happens, people don't believe it's the government doing it. You try to tell them, oh no, this is all controlled, and they go, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, they can't control the weather. Yes, they can, and they tell us they can control the weather, and they have told us over and over again. So yeah, it's about time people woke up to this, it really is. And prices are going through the roof. Food is becoming very, very scarce everywhere, folks. And something else that is being noticed by people as well is that animals are starting to fight over food in the wild. See, many animals, especially in the United States, many animals live off scraps. I mean, many animals have forgotten how to forage. I mean, they still do go and forage, but many of them live off food scraps that are discarded by people as well. Pizza crusts and, stuff that gets thrown out in the garbage. America throws away about, over half the food that it cooks, it throws away. Well, that's kind of stopping over the last year. People aren't throwing away nearly as many scraps. And so you're seeing animals that used to get along. There's people who put out feeder boxes for squirrels and things, and the squirrels used to all sit around and just eat, and it was all good. Now they're actually fighting over the feeder boxes because they're feeling there's a shortage coming as well. And it's coming for everybody, folks. And again, if you're not stocked up, you really need to be. Which is an interesting situation because I'm really not stocked up here in Mexico. I'm stocked up here in Australia, I'm stocked up, but I'm not in Australia anymore. And it's been quite difficult to get myself in a position anywhere in Mexico where I am going to weather the coming storm. So it's an interesting thing. I mean, what I've been recommending people do, I'm not actually in a position to be able to do any of it myself, and I have already done it, like I said, back in Australia. So, interesting position to be in, folks. But like I said, even when we get through this, we're going to come to a golden age at the end of it. We really are. It's just going to get to a point where a lot of people have got to suffer along the way. And that's about all I wanted to say to you, folks. This is just a short video, so just while I'm walking back up to the road here. As I've been saying to people about doing the shadow work and exploring your addictions and finding what you can get away with, finding what it is that actually connects you to this society. Because that's what's going to get you through to the other side. You've got to realise you're going to be disconnected from this soon. I think I showed you a report, either on the last report I did or the one before, where I talked about how the fact that now in Africa, when you want to activate your SIM card in Africa, you've got to provide biometrics. You've got to give them fingerprints, biometrics, retinal scans in order to even activate your SIM card. So this is the way it's going to be in order to get online. This new digital currency they want to bring in, Russia may be circumventing them or that with this whole gold-backed system that it's doing, Russia and China. But even with that, like I said, it doesn't matter that it's gold-backed. The fact that even if it's gold-backed, it's going to be a digital type currency and it's going to be completely tracked and traceable. Everything that they're doing is going to be trackable and traceable. And we'll soon be moving to 6G, Internet 6G, sixth generation, which is the intra-body nano network, past the Internet of Things and onto the Internet of Bodies, the Internet of People. These nano routers, all these things that they're putting inside people. This whole transhumanist nightmare that I've been talking about since 2012 mean, that's what they're doing with all this. And all the laws as well, the mask laws and shit in Australia. Apparently in Victoria you don't have to wear masks. Nobody has to wear masks. The only people who have to are the grade 3 to grade 6-year-olds in school. Just young kids. So they can completely mess up their learning, completely mess up their ability to speak. Apparently there's kids in Germany, there's been something like a 40% drop or a 400% drop in the learning abilities of children due to them wearing masks for the last couple of years. You know, it's just absolutely destroying the kids' learning in Germany, and this is being noticed, and this would be happening in other places as well. I mean, kids having speech problems now, they're not learning how to speak properly because they can't read lips. They can't learn from their parents the way they do it. They can't read facial expressions anymore the way they always used to. This is the sort of stuff it's doing, which is pretty bad, folks. Yeah, but it was really good to disconnect, to be honest, folks. It really was, and I'd kind of like to do it again. I know I want to be able to bring information to people, but how much more can I say? I mean, people want solutions. They don't realise that they are the solution. You've got to change your perspective, and you've got to readjust how you look at the world and how you interact with people. Stop buying into all the division. Stop buying into all the animosity. Stop thinking everybody is a shill and all this sort of stuff. Get back in touch with what it means to be you. This is something so many people have forgotten, you know, how to actually be human. What it's like to live without the technology. We never had this technology. 20 years ago we didn't have any of this shit. So, you know, why are we so dependent on it now? You know? 20 years ago we didn't have any of it. Like I said, even with cryptocurrency and all this sort of stuff, it's a short window, but you can get into it. I mean, you can get in there and make a bit of a profit now, get yourself set up with some stuff that you need to get by. And then, you know, when it comes to, you know, a year or two from now, turn it all into hard assets, things you're going to need: food, tools, duct tape, medical supplies, somewhere to live, somewhere to be able to travel, water, things you're going to need to get by. There's actually a free crypto learning thing. Like, there's a crypto thing for beginners that I think Jeff's putting on Dollar Vigilante. You find a link below. It's at the end of April. It's a free crypto thing. You can sign up, and if you don't know how to use cryptocurrency or how it works or whatever, you can go and sign up for that, and I'll give you a lesson in it apparently. So that's something to check out as well. And also, like I've said before, I'm probably going to be speaking at Float Fest in Texas at the end of the month as well. I think that's April 29th. I'm going to be speaking there, doing some sort of a workshop as well, I would imagine. As long as I can get into the United States, but I think I can. I think that's going to be all looked after and taken care of, so I don't see a problem there. But, you know, offering people solutions and you know, what is the solution to all this? And as I keep saying, the solution is for you to rediscover yourself. That's really how to get through it, because this has to play out. When you look at the amount of people that have had these jabs, so many people have had these jabs, so many people have got this nanotech in them, this graphene oxide, which passes the blood-brain barrier, gets into the brain. What are they going to do with it? How's it going to be triggered by 5G? When you look at that report that came out by Maria Z, she was showing how different aspects of it, some of these crystals actually light up and start glowing when they're near cell phones. So how are they going to react when they're in this full 5G millimeter wave environment? What is this stuff really doing? Is this a zombie apocalypse they're talking about? You know, and things are going to go crazy everywhere. We've got a bit of a reprieve here in Mexico at the moment because the president here is really cool. The president here doesn't agree with any of this globalist bullshit. But you've got to ask how long he's going to last. And if he gets voted out, or if something happens to him, what's going to happen here in Mexico? Tommy Robinson was recently deported back to Manchester from Mexico when he landed in Cancun just last week or something like that. I'm not a Tommy Robinson fan. I think he's a Zionist mouthpiece, and perhaps it's a publicity stunt, but still, the fact that the Mexican government's willing to play along with that is an interesting twist to things. So yeah, people need to pay attention to what's really going on here. All is not what people think. But as I said, folks, most of this is a distraction. The war in Ukraine, this whole Hollywood Grammy Award slap Will Smith thing, even the concept that, there's a new gold standard coming, this is the same shit. The white hats are in there to save us. This is the same shit that's been pushed by people like David Wilcock and Ben Fuller Shitford and Q and all these people for like 20 years now. They've been pushing this shit. The white hats are in there to save you. Meanwhile, the world gets steadily more worse and more destructive, and more people die, more collateral damage, more bullshit gets piled on top of bullshit, and people are still waiting for the white hats to come along and save them, not realising they can save themselves if they just change their perspective and realise that they have value and they actually don't have to do what they're told all the time. You don't actually have to do any of this shit, folks. We could create the world we wanted in a matter of days if people would just wake up to the fact that they're worthwhile. You actually have value. You don't actually have to do what you're told. The people we employ to manage things for us as government are actually doing the wrong thing. And as soon as we identify that fact and tell them to get the fuck out of the building and start doing things for ourselves, the world will change. But it's not going to change until that happens. It's not going to change until people are prepared to take a little bit of responsibility for themselves, and that is what's going to change it. But even with that, like I said, things have got to run their natural course now because so many people have had this injection. So what you've got to do, like I said, is do the shadow work. Find these things about yourself that you need to heal. Find out what your addictions are. Find out what it is that keeps you locked into this system and even makes you sad that the system is about to implode. Because I'm not sad about it at all. I think it's great that the system is falling apart. We don't need the system. I mean, sure, a lot of people will suffer, and that's bad, but that's their own fault because they never learned. They never learned along the way. They never learned self-responsibility. They never learned what it means to be human. They always wanted someone else to come along and fix things for them, which is what all of this stuff with Russia is. People thinking Putin's the good guy and he's going to bring in the second great reset, our great reset, that's going to put us all into a world of abundance. In other words, some politician's going to come along, start a war, and put you into a position where everything's going to be roses. Really? How many times have we been told that before, and you're still buying into it? Seriously? This whole thing's been going like clockwork, folks. Putin staging this war at exactly the right time. Joe Biden cutting Putin off from using the world monetary system, the world reserve currency, putting it in a position where the United States will probably lose its position. Breaking down the food chain, paying farmers to burn their crops and destroy their crops, shutting down borders, destroying trade, injecting people with vaccines. Putin's been right on board with these vaccines, folks. There's been hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people in Russia, been injected with these graphene jabs. And I'd say even the saline solution they're giving people, it's still got the graphene shit in it, folks. It's still going into the blood-brain barrier. They're still getting this stuff into people because that's what they want. They're killing off all the sports stars, killing off all the strong people, giving everybody myocarditis and heart problems and chest problems and respiratory problems and all the shit they're doing. So they've taken out all the alphas. They don't want anybody there to be able to fight back or talk back or be able to stand up against what's coming. So, this whole thing's a play, folks, and no, Putin isn't your friend. He's doing exactly what he needs to do to support the whole World Economic Forum model, to support the Great Reset. Everything that needs to be done, and it's all going like clockwork, and people are just buying into it because they're desperate for a saviour, because they don't want to take responsibility for themselves, but at the same time, they'll be saying, someone offer me some solutions. It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible just how blind some people are, which is why it all has to run to its natural course. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Which is why it all has to run to its natural course now. There's nothing else that can happen. Too many people are taking the jab. Like I said before, bring down all the major players, bring down all the politicians, bring down the Freemasons, the Jesuits, the Jews, whatever you want. Doesn't matter. It's all going to run its natural course now. And the result is going to be control for AI for certain sections of the humanity, but it's going to result in freedom for other sections of humanity as well. People like me, people who are prepared for this, people who are prepared to just put it all down, disconnect and walk away, you're going to get a taste of what true freedom is. But true freedom is based in self-responsibility, folks. That's what it is. You've got to be responsible for yourself, responsible for your own actions, responsible for looking out for your own life, looking after your own life, responsible for everything that happens in that life. If you're not prepared to do that, you'll never be free, because that's what freedom is. A lot of people don't get that. That's why it has to run its natural course. And that's why all these people wanting this golden age and abundance for everybody, where we can pursue all this stuff and pursue our artistic interests and all that sort of stuff, yeah, that would be great. But don't think you're going to be able to do it from within this system, because that isn't the way this system is being designed. This system is going fully digital, and it's designed to remove you of all of that. Remove you of any artistic input into your own life. You'll be designated a job, designated a place to live, designated what sort of person you need to be, what you need to do and think and say every day, and you'll do what you're told, or you won't get your universal basic income payment, and you won't be able to buy your Silent Green for the day. That's the world they want to create, and you've got to be able to see that happening and realise what the solution to that is. And the solution is to step outside of it completely, folks. Let it create itself, but just don't be part of it, because it is creating itself. I mean, all these zombies are creating it now. I had a friend in Australia, went down to Melbourne, because she lives on the Gold Coast. She lives where all the floods and the rain and stuff has been. They're really hitting that area at the moment, because that's where a lot of the really awake people are. But she went down to Melbourne and she said it was a different world down there. So many people are angry, so many people are complying, and they're angry with those who don't comply. And like she said, there's still masks and check-ins everywhere, and they're making grade 3 to grade 6 students wear masks at school. Just the younger kids, so, primary school kids. So, and it's a different world, and people, and she got thrown out of businesses for not having the jab and not having vaccine passports and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a different world down there, folks, and it's like that in a lot of places. It'll be interesting what it's like in the United States when I'm there in a few weeks' time. So, yeah. But anyway, folks, I'm going to leave it there for now. Thank you for joining me on this report. I will bring you another one in a few days. Thank you to all the people who've helped me out with crypto. Thank you to anybody who has. Like, there's still no way people can donate to the website. They've shut me down everywhere. Shut down my Patreon. They're never going to approve my subscribe style, so I'll probably just take that link off my website. Really, the only way to help out now is with cryptocurrency or through Wise Bank. And thank you to those people who have. It's very appreciated. Like I said, things have been very, very touch and go and totally out of my comfort zone here in Mexico. But hey, it's all working out. Things will work out the way they're supposed to. It was good to go down to Oaxaca. I'm going to explore up in northern Mexico when I come back from the United States and check out some of the places up there, and then I'll probably come back to Acapulco, which is where most of my stuff is, and then I'll figure out where I want to go from there. I think I'll probably stay over this side of the country, though. I don't like the thought of Cancun or Tulum or the Gulf side of things. It doesn't appeal to me. So I think it'll probably be over the west side of the country. But I'll just play it by ear. I think I've got another interview tomorrow with Devi, like a part 2 of that other one we did. I think she is in Acapulco now. She sent me a message yesterday, so I'll link to that and upload that when it gets done as well. I'll probably do a few more interviews over the next couple of weeks, but I've really been kind of off the interviews, folks. I haven't been doing any. And I do possibly want to catch up with someone who's in, I think is possibly in Ukraine as well, and perhaps have them on to chat about things, the real situation on the ground over there, what's actually going on. But like I said, folks, people are being killed, sure, but it's a puppet show. The whole thing's a puppet show. It's come about at exactly the time they needed it to come about in order to bring in their Great Reset and to provide a viable backstory for it to happen. So people who think Putin's coming in to save the day, no, he's not. He's just playing his role, folks, and he's always been playing his role. He's a World Economic Forum stooge, and he always has been. But anyway, I'll leave it there for now. Again, thank you to all the people who send me so many kind emails. Thank you to anybody who's ever donated through Wise or through crypto, or thank you to anybody who was ever a Patreon supporter. and all that sort of thing. I mean, it's kind of good now that it's not Patreon and that people just donate when they want to through Wise, because that way it isn't like a regular installment out of your account. So it's probably better for people and probably costs people less and probably less inconvenient for people, I hope. But anyway, and thank you anyway, like I said, to all those people who can and who have. But anyway, I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon, folks. Please take very good care until that time. It will only be 2 or 3 days. I'll get another video out. Depends on what the world situation does. Things are moving so quickly. But I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon, folks. Please take very good care until then. In Lakesh.
A glass jar with a lid. The fleas are placed inside the jar and the lid is then sealed. They are left undisturbed for 3 days. Then, when the jar is opened, the fleas will not jump out. In fact, the fleas will never jump higher than the level set by the lid. Their behaviour is now set for the rest of their lives. And, when these fleas reproduce, their offspring will automatically follow their example.